Hello and welcome to lesson 712, 5th grade. I'm on page 270. Today we are working on rules, tables, and graphs. So first, let's talk about what a rule is. And today, a rule, at least when we're talking about a rule in math, is basically just a mathematical expression that is going to connect two different variables. In this case, our variables, if you look at question number 1, where it tells us that Carla earns $20 per hour. So variables are the two parts of a math problem that can potentially change. And in this case, we're dealing with dollars and hours. So we need to think of a rule for Carla and how much money she makes. $20 per hour literally means every time an hour passes, she'll make 20 bucks. So can we think of a rule for that? Well, we can kind of just take what I said and put it in mathematical form. We can say basically however many hours she works, number of hours worked, she's going to make 20 bucks for every one of those hours. And so if she works 1 hour, she'll make $20. If she works 2 hours, there'll be $20 twice. So on and so forth. So in that case, it's kind of like a multiplication problem. If she works 1 hour, it's like 20 times 1. She works 2, it's 20 times 2. 3 hours, 20 times 3. So why don't we take this rule and turn it into kind of our own multiplication problem. Number of hours worked times $20 will tell us how much she earns. And we can call that earnings. Okay, so in this case, let's actually see what happens here. If Carla earned, or if she worked for only 1 hour, we know she's making $20 per hour, so that would just be $20 right away. That should be automatic. They told us already, work an hour, make 20 bucks. And of course, ordered pair would just be, they tell us here that the x value will be the hours worked, which is 1, and the y value, the vertical line, is going to be 20. So our first ordered pair is 120. Now 2 hours would be 2 sets of 20. What's 20 times 2? I know that is 40. So for 2 hours, it'll be 40 bucks. And you might be able to tell that we're going up by $20 every time because it's per hour. So if we have a third hour, we'll go up by $20 more, and it'll push us to 60. Okay, so rule is basically just saying like, hey, so how can we figure out like the future of what we're talking about? If we're making $20 per hour, how can I find out how much I'll make in 5 hours? And we have a rule for that now. You just stick in the number of hours, multiply it by 20. True story. So we're going to kind of shift gears a little bit. Let's go down and I'm going to walk you guys through Eli and Lupita, who are, I believe, siblings. It says Eli is 10 years old and can run about 5 yards in 1 second. His sister Lupita is 7 years old and can run about 4 yards in 1 second. Eli and Lupita have a 60-yard race. Because Lupita is younger, Eli gives her a 10-second head start. Complete the table showing the distances Eli and Lupita are from the starting line after 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, and so on. Use the tables to complete problem 2. And they're going to give us a number of questions here. Who wins the race? How long does it take for them to finish, etc. So they basically gave us a rule right away in the very first paragraph regarding the speed of both Eli and Lupita. So for Eli, they're telling us that for every 1 second, he runs 5 yards. And Lupita, who's 3 years younger, for every 1 second, runs 4 yards. So let's take a look at our table here on the right and see what we can do. We just found out through that first paragraph that for every second that passes, this is Eli's table, he's going to run 5 yards. So that means After 1 second, he'll have gone 5 yards. 2 seconds, that will be 5 2 times, so that'll be 10. And can you see the pattern that we've already developed here? We went from 0 to 5, 10, 15. It looks like we're going up by 5s, right? And that's true because for every second, Eli is running 5 more yards. So we don't even have to really do the multiplication. We can just follow the pattern as long as we're going up by single seconds on the left. 5, 10, 15, 20. And you can carry it right on through. Oh, sometimes I forget that I'm using a pencil now and I can actually erase and not just scribble. It's a little bit of a change from in the classroom when I have to use a pen for it to show up on the DocCam. Okay, so Eli's is pretty straightforward. He's starting from 0, right on the starting line, and he goes 5 yards per second. Now you'll notice something different with Lupita. She's not starting with 0 yards to her name. She's starting at 10 yards. Do we know why that is? Well, that's because over here, we found out that because Lupita is younger, Eli gave her a 10-second head start. So right away, you might be able to say, well, Eli's running 5 yards every second and Lupita's only running 4. So obviously Eli's going to win. However, Eli started Lupita ahead of him. So you'll notice even before they even start, with 0 seconds, Lupita's already 10 yards ahead. And now we'll be counting from 10 instead of from 0. So Lupita runs about 4 yards a second. And of course, if you feel like you understand this part, skip ahead if you need to. But we're going to start from 10 here. So after 1 second, she'll run 4 yards starting from 10. So that'll be 11, 12, 13, 14. And you'll notice that that leads right into 18, which is 4 more than 14. And you're going to follow the same pattern that we did for Eli. Well, not the same pattern. Eli was by 5s, but in this case, we'll be going by 4s. So you can just count by 4 from every single distance. So 4 to 18. From 18, that'll take us to 22, to 26. And I think I'll let you guys finish the rest of these out here. Now, I'm going to jump ahead here, and I'm going to take a look at the question of who wins the race. I want you guys to keep in mind that the goal here is 60 yards. So for Eli, we know he hit the 60-yard mark after 12 seconds. What you want to look out for is if Lupita is able to hit 60 yards either before 12 seconds, let's say she hits 60 right here. That would mean she won because she got there in 10 seconds instead of 12. Or does she never actually get there within 12 seconds? Maybe 60 would have been down here somewhere. And in that case, that means Eli's our winner. So once you're finished with these tables, you're gonna have a few different comparisons you'll have to make. I did want to swing over. I don't want to make this a super long video. They are going to want you to graph this on page 271 to graph your results. And I just wanted to run you guys through a quick, give you a quick taste of how we're going to graph these things. So I'm going to start with Eli. And you'll notice when we made this table with Eli, a lot of times they identify the X and the Y axis for you at the top. So for Eli, the x-axis is going to be seconds, and the y-axis is going to be distance. So I'm going to use a blue pen, which if you have colored pencils, I'd recommend those instead because you can erase them. And I'm going to start graphing a little Eli. Let's see if I can zoom out a little bit. Oh, just a touch. So I know Eli's starting 0, 0, just like Lupita. But after 1 second, that'll be, here's the x-axis, remember. Here's the y. So x will be down here. The y's will be this way. After 1 second, that's 1 on the x, Eli had gone 5 yards, I believe. Yep. And 2 seconds, 10. And again, you might notice a pattern here, just the same as we did on our table. 3, 15, 4, 20. You always want to double check your work because not all lines always follow this perfect of a pattern, but in this case it's true. He had the same exact pace the entire time, which I don't know about that, guys. I mean, a lot of times we start slower, then we reach a max point, then we slow down toward the end. But in this case, I don't know, Eli was pretty consistent, I guess. After 10 seconds, he should be at 50. Yep. And 12 seconds, here's the finish. Okay, so I'm going to use a straight edge here. Again, I recommend using colored pencil or something that's erasable in the event that you make an error. Because right now, if I make a mistake, I can't go back. I'm in trouble. This is one of those, like, what does it do as I say, not as I do, or something? I don't know. Okay, so there is Eli's, and I'll give you just a quick taste of Lupita's because I think this could throw some of you off. It could be tempting to start at 0-0, just like Eli. But remember, Lupita, if you look, her axis starts at 0, just like Eli's, but her y-axis does not start at 0 because she has that head start. So right away, Lupita is ahead before the race even begins. Man, purple looks really similar to, I wish I had like red. I'll go with black and see if that works. So 0-10, 1-14. Ooh, she's gonna have a weird one. So the x-axis will be fine. We can find 1, but 14, you'll notice, is not on the y. But you know, you might notice that 14 is really close to 15. So you kind of have to estimate a little bit and say, well, 14 is probably right about here. So after 1 second, she's at 14. And you'll notice she's in the lead as we speak because Eli, after 1 second, had only made it 5 yards. And after 1 second, Lupita was at 14. And after 2 seconds, she was at 18. And I think you might end up, that's going to be just a little bit below 20. You might notice something happening here. After 3 seconds, she was at 22. She's still in the lead. She's still that top line. 22 will be a little bit over 20. 4, she was at 26. Do you see something happening here? Do you notice the gap between these two at the beginning? And then what's happening to the distance between the blue dot and the black dot? It's getting narrower. That means Eli's catching up. So that's as far as I took your table. So it's going to be up to you guys to complete this graph with the rest of the data. And what is going to happen is this is going to tell you a story. You know, you can use the table to find out what happened in this race, but you'll also be able to look at your graph and say, well, wow, okay, after 3 seconds, it looks like Lupita was in the lead. She had made it 22 feet, or yards, excuse me, whereas Eli had only made it 15. But then as the story goes on, you're going to notice something potentially changing before we're all said and done. Okay, so that's a quick rundown of how we're going to find our rules for lesson 712 and then graph our rules. If you have any questions on the actual questions, let me know, leave a comment, and I will come back and run through those too. But of course, I like giving you an opportunity to figure those out on your own with some critical thinking. All right, guys, I will see you for the next lesson. I think it's 713. Yeah, I'll see you then. So long.